All right, good morning, guys. Welcome to week 1 of library via YouTube during our virtual learning or distance learning for the next few weeks. So we're just going to pretend like we're having library, and instead of coming to the library, you're going to come to YouTube and watch this, and this will be your library. This is geared toward a 3rd grade level. But if you are a 4th grade or 5th grade student at our school and you feel like you want to listen to this book, that's totally okay too. This one is called the Star Maiden, and since this is a 3rd grade video, this is a 3.0. The quiz number is 5542. If you can't remember that, it's okay. I'm going to put it in the description below this video, so when you are ready to take the AR test, if you can't remember what the quiz number is, it will be down there in the description. Also, remember that when you log in and take your AR test on this book, if you can't remember the answer to a question, be sure that you don't guess, look it up. So all you have to do is rewind this video, and you can watch it as many times as you need to help you find the answer, so don't forget that. All right, so we're gonna get started. So this is a Chippewa tale, which is a Native American tribe. So since it is a tale or a folk tale, does anybody remember what genre that would be? So I'll give you a few seconds to answer in your head out loud or to whoever might be listening with you. So if you said traditional literature, then you are right. Remember, how did traditional literature get started? Okay, if you said through the art of storytelling, passed down from generation to generation, then you are correct. Remember, these people that told these stories a long time ago, they made them up to entertain their family and friends, and to also teach life lessons to their family and friends. So lessons that we can also learn by hearing these stories today. So as I read this book, try to see if you can think of what you think the lesson might be that we could apply to our lives at the end. Sometimes it's really easy to figure them out, and sometimes it's kind of difficult. This one is not real easy, but it's you'll kind of be able to figure out it, I think. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So once there was a time long, long ago when all the tribes in the land lived in peace. There were no wars among them. Summer was always in the air. The streams were clear and pure and filled with fish. Bird song rang from every tree, and the earth was rich with everything the people needed. All day long they hunted and fished. They gathered fruits and nuts. They made birch bark canoes to carry them lightly along rivers and across the wide lakes. But at night, when work was done, the people loved to watch the sky. They loved to see the silver disk of the moon climb the darkness. They loved to watch the stars flicker their icy fire. One night, when the sky was above the prairie and was glittering with starlight, they saw something new. So that's them building their canoes. It was the brightest star anyone had ever seen, and as they watched, it began to move. It almost fell to earth. Then it stopped. They could see it hanging like a white blaze near the top of a faraway hill. What could this mean? They wondered, and they watched night after night. It never moved from the hilltop. Days went by. At last, the great chief spoke. "Let some braves go into the far hills. Let them see this thing, and let them tell us what it is." So the braves went into the far hills, and when they came back, they said, "We saw something shining there. It hung in the top of a dark pine tree. It did not answer us, and it made us feel afraid." That very night, one of those young braves had a dream. A silver maiden came into his dream. She shone with silver light. She spoke to him, and her voice was like a thread of silver. She held out her shining arms to him. "I am tired of wandering across the sky," she said. "Your world calls to me." I love the blowing winds. I love the colors I see below me. I love your rivers and lakes. I want to dip my hands in the clear water that shines up at me. I have watched your people. I have watched the children playing in the villages and tumbling in the private grass, or prairie grass, sorry. I want to live among you. No more will I wander in the dark sky. Let your wisest people help me. Let them tell me what form I will take. Then I can live on your land forever. The young brave woke up. It was still night. His dream was gone. The Silver Maiden had vanished too. When he looked at the far-off hills, he saw the shining light hanging in the top of the dark pine tree, and then he fell asleep again. In the morning, the young brave told the chief about his strange dream. The chief called the wisest men and women together. They sat in their council circle and listened. The chief stood up. He spoke. "A star wants to live on earth," he said. "Our people will welcome her. The blue air over the prairie will fill with birdsong to honor her coming." On earth, she cannot be a shining star, so let her choose the form she will take. She can be a flower growing in the earth. She can be a fish swimming in the water. She can be a bird soaring in the clear air. Her home will be where she finds a peaceful resting place. Go, you must find her and tell her this. The chief stood and the wise ones stood up and slowly walked around their fire. They sang a song of welcome and threw sweet wood on the flames. The fragrant smoke rose up into the morning air. It was a greeting to the star. All right, so if you're not sure what's going on, so there's a Star Maiden in the sky, and she wants to live on the earth. So they're going to let her come and live on the earth, but she can't be a star on the earth. So they've given her a list of things she could be, like a flower, a fish, a bird, and so they're going to tell her that, and she has to choose. All right, the next night, the young brave left the village. He went into the faraway hills where silver light hung in the top of a tree. It looked up and the light floated down to where he stood. It was the Silver Maiden of his dream, and he turned and she followed. She drifted above him, lighting his way through the darkness. When the young brave came home, the people crept out to see the Star Maiden. Her soft light hung in the air over their wigwams all night long. Morning came and the Star Maiden slipped into the center of a rose that grew on a hillside, so right here. The people heard her voice in the air above them. "This shall be my home. In this flower I shall live on earth." But the next day they heard her voice again. "This rose is far too far from the village," she said. "I never see the people I love." So she left the rose and floated down to the wide grassy prairie. Flowers of every color grew there. "I shall live on this prairie," the Star Maiden said to the wind. She chose a small flower as blue as the sky. "This is where I will stay." But something was wrong. Every day the earth shook and trembled underneath her. Herds of great buffalo trampled the ground, and their hooves dug at the earth. "I cannot rest here," she cried. And that night the people saw her shining light rise into the dark sky above their heads. They were sad. They were afraid she would leave forever. The earth did not welcome her after all. She could not find a peaceful home. And the Star Maiden drifted over the lake. She hung there. Her reflection floated on the dark water. Floating on the water were the reflections of all her sky sisters too. The people watched. Then they heard her silver voice again. "Sisters, sisters," she called. "Stop your wandering. Find rest with me." These quiet waters will be our home. Come. All right, so do you guys know who her sisters are, her sky sisters? Okay, it's the other stars. If you said the other stars in the sky with her, that's correct. The people saw the sky shake with glittering points of light. They saw the dark lake come alive with stars. What does this mean? They asked. The wise one smiled. The chief smiled too. Let us go to our beds and sleep now, he said. Our Star Maiden has found a home at last. The night wind blew, loons called, owls hooted. When morning came, something was different. Hundreds of stars were floating on the blue lake. No, not stars. Hundreds of star flowers floated there. Water lilies. The Star Maiden had found her peace on earth. Her star sisters had listened. They had stopped wandering too, across the night sky. They had dropped into the lake to join the Star Maiden in her new home. All the people floated out in their canoes, and they leaned over to touch the creamy white petals. Water lilies. They are stars that fell from the deep sky one night long, long ago. If you see them, touch them gently. Their petals shine in the sun like the stars that lived and sparkled in the sky once upon a time. Water lilies. Touch them gently and remember. All right, so in the end, the Star Maiden did find the perfect home, and what was it? Okay, it was the lake. And all her star sisters came and joined her. Is that really where water lilies come from? Are they stars that fell from the sky? No, they're not. Native American stories are always talking about how things in nature were formed by other things in nature, but that's not how water lilies came to be, but it's just a story that talks about how they came to be. Okay, so the Star Maiden, so she wanted to come and live on Earth, and she tried to come first and live in, anybody remember? The rose. And what was wrong with the rose? She couldn't see hardly any people. She didn't live around people, and that made her sad. So then she went and lived in where? A really pretty blue flower in the middle of a prairie. And what was wrong with that place? Anybody remember? It was really loud and the ground shook because of all the buffalo running around. So then she went back up in the sky, and everybody was sad because they thought, well, she's not going to come and live with us. But then as she was up in the sky with her star sisters, which are the other stars, she saw her reflection in the water and realized that would be a great peaceful place to live. So that's where they came to live, as water lilies, because remember, they couldn't be stars. All right, so does anybody can think of something that this might teach us? Like, can we learn a lesson or any kind of lesson from this story that we can apply to our own lives? And think about it for a minute. Okay, so if you think that maybe someplace where she was trying to live, remember she tried to live a couple of places, and one was lonely and one was too loud, and then she found just the right place, which was by water. So how we could apply that to our lives today is, sometimes if we're trying to be somewhere, I'm not talking about you needing to go and move, that's not what I'm talking about, but let's take for example, maybe you were trying to read a book. So if you were somewhere and you were trying to read a book and you went one place and it felt kind of sad, then you shouldn't just stay there, you should go somewhere else. So, and then if you go somewhere else and that's too loud and it's too annoying, then you should move and go find a peaceful place. So we could apply that to almost anything. So wherever we are, you don't have to just settle, even if it's something small. You don't have to just settle if it's too loud, if it's, too lonely. Go find something or a place where it's peaceful and relaxing, and that can be a lesson that we could apply to really anything in our lives that we're doing. Let's see. I have a couple questions written down. That's why I keep looking over to the side. I know in class I don't do that, but when I'm making a video and talking in front of a camera, sometimes I lose my train of thought. So, because this is really different to do this. So I think I think I already covered everything, so that's good. So remember, don't forget to take the AR test. The AR quiz number will be below in the description. I will be on here next week for week 2 for another 3rd grade book to read. Also, remember something just to think about to keep positive. Try to learn something new every day. So even if it's something small, like you learn how to make macaroni and cheese, or you learn how to use a lawnmower if your parents let you, or just something that you learn how to do. So there's always something with all this time that we're going to have being at home. Just try to come up with something new every day that you can learn how to do, even if it's something really small and it seems insignificant. So anyway, that's all of that. So this was the Star Maiden. And if you put the quiz number in instead of trying to type in the title, remember it's way faster. So I hope that all of you have a good day, and don't forget to be awesome. Bye.